Now, differing death tolls of up to around 80 people after Syrian warplanes struck the northeastern city of Raqqa. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights saying 10 warplanes struck at least 10 times. The Islamic State group seizing Raqqa from the government back in August. Its fighters later capturing and executing scores of Syrian soldiers. We're going to talk to our correspondent Adam Pletz, who's joining us from Beirut. Adam, first of all, what can you tell us about the latest situation in and around Raqqa?
Right, well, these airstrikes were carried out yesterday by the Syrian Air Force on Raqqa, which is, of course, the de facto capital of the so-called Islamic State. And as you said, various estimates as to how many people were killed. One group saying as many as 87. That group is actually based in Raqqa itself. Others suggesting in the 60s or 70s. But, of course, it's very difficult to get precise numbers out of any place inside Syria, let alone Raqqa, which is under IS control, Islamic State group control, and that's true even of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, who's been monitoring these death tolls for a while. One thing they do agree on, though, is that the majority of the deaths were civilians, and that they were caused by mostly by two individual strikes on an industrial part of the town. Now, it's not by any means the first time that the Syrian Air Force has carried out strikes on Raqqa. In September, as many as 50 people were killed in Syria, similar airstrikes then. But we should bear in mind that these Syrian Air Force strikes are probably not as accurate, perhaps nowhere near as accurate as US Air Force strikes, which are also being carried out in the area, but also that those US airstrikes also cause collateral damage, as they term it.
And Adam, just as you explained there, it must be an incredibly complicated situation with Syrian and US airplanes both operating in the same area.
Yeah, well, it immediately brings to question the issue of cooperation, or certainly it looking like cooperation, or the Assad government trying to make it look like cooperation. Now, the US has been very clear in the past that they won't cooperate with the Assad government in any way, but both air forces are essentially hitting the same targets, certainly in this instance. And it's a very complicated situation with all sides having to make a calculation, if you like, as to who they're actually benefiting with these strikes. From the US side, they have to ask the question, well, if they hit Islamic State group or other rebels aligned with them, are they helping the Syrian government? And from the Syrian government side, if they hit ISIS, the Islamic State group, are they helping other rebels who are themselves fighting the Islamic State group? And in the past, Assad has been accused of turning a blind eye to the Islamic State group, concentrating his efforts instead on other rebel groups. And so perhaps this airstrike was a means to try and counterbalance that perception.
Adam, thanks so much. Adam Pletz, our correspondent, speaking to us there from Beirut.